Okay, I think we're rolling. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to session number 226 of Kevin Reads A Course in Miracles. Today we are in chapter 29 entitled The Awakening, and we will be focusing on Section 4, IV. Shout out to all the medical professionals. All right, the wonderful work you do. Section 4, IV, entitled Dream Roles. Appropriate, since this is about awakening. Jesus is going to talk about some of the roles that we give to people in dreams. All right. And as I was preparing this, I wanted to note, it came up for me, that I said, look at this section and hear it calmly. Jesus is never pointing a finger at anybody. He's never pointing a finger of guilt or condemnation or criticism at anybody. So, with that in mind, I don't know if I have a little note that Dr. Wapnick went over this section in one of his seminars in Roscoe, New York, in the Catskill Mountains in September of 1997. So, brings back the picture of being up there. It was very nice. Very nice. That being said, let's begin. Do you believe that truth can be but some illusions? They are dreams because they are not true. Their equal lack of truth becomes the basis for the miracle, which means that you have understood that dreams are dreams, and that escape depends not on the dream, but only on awaking. Could it be some dreams are kept and others wakened from? The choice is not between which dreams to keep, but only if you want to live in dreams or waken from them. Thus it is. The miracle does not select some dreams to leave untouched by its beneficence. You cannot dream some dreams and wake from some, for you are either sleeping or awake, and dreaming goes with only one of these. Right? Dreaming only goes with sleeping. Okay? And this is the chapter called The Awakening. So, Jesus once again states the one or the other situation. You're either in the ego thought system or you're in the right mind. Okay? And when you're in the right mind, you're on your way to the oneness, the realization. Right? While you're in the right mind, you might be still in form, and in a couple of paragraphs, Jesus will talk about what he often refers to as the happy dream. All right. But meanwhile, in this first paragraph, he says, they're dreams because they're not true. All right. He says, do you believe that the truth can be but some illusions? That's what he's referring to as this, our world of form, our experience in form. He said it's just a bunch of illusions. Right? He says, do you believe the truth is that? He says, they're dreams because they're not true. And their equal lack of truth becomes the basis for the miracle. There's no order of difficulty. All right? The first miracle principle in chapter 1 he goes right back to it, restating it. Their equal lack of truth. There is no truth, no matter what it looks like, in form, whether it's good or bad, whether it's pleasing or it's horrible, it's repulsive. This is they're just not true. And their equal lack of truth becomes the basis of the miracle. Because we could boil it all down, right, to one problem, one solution. One problem, the problem being that I believe I separated from oneness. And the solution is to accept the atonement, as we say in the Course, which means that there's nothing but the oneness, nothing but your Creator and you. And you have never left. You are totally innocent and will always be that way. All right. So the equal lack of truth becomes the basis for the miracle, which means they have understood, that you have understood, that dreams are dreams. That escape depends not on the dream, but only on the waking. All right. Only on the awaking. Could it be that some dreams are kept while others are wakened from? He says the choice is not between which dreams to keep, but only if you want to live in dreams or awaken from them. All right? Once again, Jesus is telling us, you you can't have a little bit of heaven in hell, and vice versa. All right? So he says it's not about which dreams you want to keep, which ones are really cool. Oh, I like this dream, Right? He says, do you want to wake up or not? And you will wake up. It's just, he says, why wait? Why go through 1,000 more lifetimes until you go, oh, I should have thought of that. I should have had a V8. Right? The choice is not between which dreams to keep, but only if you want to live in dreams or awaken from them. Thus it is, the miracle does not select some dreams to leave untouched by its beneficence. You cannot dream some dreams and wake from some, for you are either sleeping or awake, and dreaming goes with only one of these. All right? So there's no order of difficulty. One dream is not better or worse than the other. One is not more happy or sad. In form it seems that way, but he says they're all the same. They're illusions. So he says, do you want to sleep or do you want to wake up? Okay. And just remember, because even that thought can produce some fear and reluctance on some level immediately, because there are some dreams you like. Right? There are some people that you like, that you want to have with you. Right? That's why it's a process. It's a transition. Okay, and in the meantime, we work toward what Jesus is going to refer to as the happy dream, where all the material things seem to be the same, but my perception has changed. My interpretation of them has changed, right? Which is why I say a bazillion times, I ask for corrected perception. Help me to see correctly. Okay, I want to see the forms in my dream correctly. Not change the form. Jesus says, don't, to paraphrase, he goes, ask not to change the world. Seek not to change the world. Seek to change your mind about the world. changing the mind about the world gives us the happy dream where things reflect the oneness to us until it's all well and good and we're not afraid of going back to our original existence. Okay. That was a bit windy. Paragraph 2. The dreams you think you like would hold you back as much as those in which the fear is seen. For every dream is but a dream of fear, no matter what the form it seems to take. The fear is seen within, without, or both. Or it can be disguised in pleasant form, but never is it absent from the dream. For fear is the material of dreams, from which they all are made. Their form can change, but they cannot be made of something else. The miracle were treacherous indeed if it allowed you to still be afraid because you did not recognize the fear. You would not be willing then to awake. You would not then be willing to awake, for which the miracle prepares the way. Right? The miracle prepares the way to wake up. Right? That change in perception prepares the way to wake up and realize the total innocence and your connection to God. So remember, he's not pointing a finger at us, just asking us, just look, just realize, even the dreams you like would hold you back. Right? If you're in a wonderful relationship, all right, you have just a wonderful relationship with whomever or whatever, right? You say, oh, I don't want to leave that. I don't want to leave that. So he says it holds you back from waking up from this world of form. Right? So, but it's just look at it. He goes, even that is it's the result of fear. That the guilt of having left heaven, having destroyed heaven, creates the fear of retaliation. And we take it with us, and it's, as they would say, it's free-floating, right? And it's unrecognized in most cases, many cases, let's put it that way. And so, in order to protect ourselves from the fear, we establish a relationship with someone or something that we think is going to make us happy, or make us safe, or show us our good nature, right? All these positive things that we think this relationship is going to give me, right? And don't blame yourself for having nice relationships, okay? Just realize, don't be afraid to wake up, because in that process of waking up, you will still have the relationship. And if it's a good relationship, it will even give you more reflection of the oneness of heaven, of the innocence that is all around us, of the love that is all around us. Right? You never have to sacrifice anything in order to wake up. Right? Remember that. Nothing is taken away from you. Right? Okay. Because, every dream is but a dream of fear, no matter what the form it seems to take. The fear is seen within, without, or both. Or it can be disguised in pleasant form, So the fear can be disguised in a pleasant form. Right? But never is it absent. Okay? Pardon my slurping. But never is it absent from the dream, for fear is the material of dreams, from which they all are made. The fear was the motivating factor for the one Son of God to think he could flee the mind. Right? The fear was the motivating factor. The fear of retaliation. So the ego suggests, oh, let's get out of it. Let's get out of here. All right? Let's project ourselves out of the mind, which was, impossible to begin with, but hey, we were afraid. We were listening to the ego. I said, okay, whatever you say. And we project out into this world of form and make up all the illusions. And some will keep us happy, and so we think, and keep us safe, give us what we think we need. All right? And don't judge yourself for that. Just notice that fear is the motivating factor for every dream. And when you ask, help me to see this correctly, right? I'm willing to see the truth about my relationship or this person or this job or whatever the situation is. I'm willing to see the truth. You're not being asked to give up anything. That's all. You're just willing to see it correctly. And you will see you're not losing anything. You're guaranteed not to lose anything. Right? At one point, Jesus asks us, can you lose yourself by finding yourself? Yet can yourself be lost by being found, he says? And your true self is totally free of fear, incredibly happy, wanting nothing, lacking nothing. That's what you're waking to. Right? And in the meantime, you don't lose anything by questioning the things in your dream. So let's go to paragraph 2, sentence 6. Their form can change. All right. It's all the things in the dream. The dreams, the form can change, but they cannot be made of something else. Right? They're all based in fear. The miracle were treacherous indeed if it allowed you to still be afraid, because you did not recognize the fear. You would not then be willing to awake, for which the miracle prepares the way. Paragraph 3, in simplest form, thank you, in simplest form it can be said, attack is a response to function unfulfilled, as you perceive the function. It can be in you or someone else. And where it is perceived, it will be there. Where it is perceived, it will be, and there it is attacked. Depression or assault must be the theme of every dream, for they are made of fear. The thin disguise of pleasure and joy in which they may be wrapped but slightly veils the heavy lump of fear that is at their core. And it is this the miracle perceives, and not the wrappings in which it is bound. So it can be said that attack is a response to a function unfulfilled, as you perceive the function. Right? And it can be you or someone else, but where it is perceived, it will be there, and there it is attacked. So I might have standards for myself, and when I don't reach those standards, I hate myself. You know, you could use different words. I'm so disappointed in myself. You know, but that doesn't matter. There's no order of difficulty. Or someone else. Someone else is fulfilling a role that we assigned in the dream. Then one day they screw up. They don't do what they're supposed to. Right? Or they leave, or they die, and take with them the role that we had assigned for them. Now what's happening? So you become sad, you become depressed, or else you attack the person for not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And he says, the thin disguise of pleasure and joy in which they were wrapped but slightly veils the heavy lump of fear that is at their core. So I might have this wonderful relationship with whatever. I might have my dream job, right? Whatever it is. Right? And it's going along for, a number of years. And I'm, happy as a tree in my job. And then one day something happens and I can't do that job anymore, or else the job disappears, right? And then there's that heavy lump of fear that arises. As I was speaking, it's one of the themes, as Dr. Wapnick would say, our life has these themes that continually repeat, like a symphony, like Beethoven's Fifth, bum, 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 bum. You hear that all through the symphony, one way or the other. We have certain notes, so to speak, certain experiences that repeat during our lives. One of the things that repeated for me, it was in my working world, where I would be working, I'd be so happy at what I was doing, and the day would come when whoever was in charge would come to me and say, if I was working at a business that I liked, working for someone, they would say, "Oh, we're closing, and don't show up for work tomorrow." All right. And or I was at another place working at a different occupation, enjoying it, loving it, and the manager comes up one day and taps me on the shoulder, says, "Can I talk to you for a second?" Says, "Yeah, we're replacing your department with this department, so you don't need to come in anymore." So what? And as my friend Patty would say to me, "Kevin, the practical side of you needs shock treatment." So I was never really practical. So this would come as, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm like living paycheck to paycheck here. So there I would be in this happy dream, so I thought, and boom, it's taken away. And all of a sudden that lump of fear arises. All right? As a matter of fact, the last job I was in, I was very happy once again, right? And then one day, the person I was working for, who I liked, and they liked me, and everybody was fine, and he says, "I got to talk to you." And he takes me in the office and he goes, "I can't afford to pay you anymore." And it was, once again, what? like I had never heard this before. But his next question always makes me laugh. He says, so what do you want to do? I said, well, I think I'll go home. You know what I mean? What do you want me to do? Should I come in tomorrow and work for nothing? You know? Which I would have done if I didn't have to drive 25 miles through upper Manhattan and in, through the Bronx and all that. You know, I just might have thought about it because I like the work, you know, but, you know, then getting home at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, forget about it. I said, all right, I'll go home, all right? But that's it. You might think you're happy. That's my point. And you are. But then all of a sudden, he says, that thin disguise of pleasure and joy in which they were wrapped slightly veils the lump of fear that is at their core. And that lump of fear was that, how am I going to pay my bills? Right? And believe me, that has been my experience all my life. You know, no matter, I don't know, good or bad. I mean, I always had fun at jobs. I always did. I always liked what I was doing. Mostly. Until it got, you know, too chaotic, too crazy, or downright dangerous. Yeah, so now I'm getting stream of consciousness memories here. But it doesn't matter. He says depression or assault must be the theme of every dream. Right? So you're out of a job. Now, oh my God, now I'm depressed. Yesterday I was so happy. So everything just rests on, you know, very thin ice, as we say. All right? And as Jesus says, this is a dream, a house built on straw. Hope I didn't go on too long. I probably did. Right, but it happens with our relationships. These are the things that are our dreams. All right. So at the core is that heavy lump of fear. And it is this that the miracle perceives. So the miracle perceives the fear, not the situations, not the wrappings. And the miracle helps us deal with the fear. The miracle helps us to remind us that you never left the mind of God. There is nothing to fear. The miracle brings us to the memory of the love that surrounds us. And in that love, fear cannot exist. It has no choice. It has to leave. It has to disappear. And the miracle, the change in perception, is what brings us to that point, brings us to the waking. And in the meantime, the miracles, they show us a different way to interpret. A different way to interpret the reality, what we think is a reality. All right? Let's just go on to paragraph 4. When you are angry, it is not because someone has failed to fill the function you allotted him. And does not this become the reason your attack is justified? The dreams you think you like are those in which the functions you have given have been filled, and the needs which you ascribe to you are met. It does not matter if they be fulfilled or merely wanted. It is the idea that they exist from which the fears arise. Dreams are not wanted more or less. They are desired or not. And each one represents some function that you have assigned, some goal which an event or body or thing should represent and should achieve for you. The sounds of New York. If it succeeds, you think you like the dream. If it should fail, you think the dream is sad. But whether it succeeds or fails is not its core, but just the flimsy covering. Right? It's a very powerful, very psychologically powerful and spiritually powerful paragraph. It says, when you're angry, it's not because someone has failed to fulfill the function you allotted to him. Don't get angry at the doctor for telling me I can't pay you anymore. Not angry. It might be your first response, but that's not it. All right? Because I allotted him the function of fulfilling a need that I thought I had, which was paying me and giving me an opportunity to do the work I loved. Excuse me. So he says, so you become angry because someone has failed to fulfill the function that you gave him. And does not this become the reason why your attack is justified? So I could, say nasty things about the doctor. I could attack his personality. I could attack his money management skills or whatever, or anything else that comes up. But that's not the case. That's why you think it's justified. You're angry at him. He says, does not this become the reason your attack is justified? All right, so we justify the attack. They fired me. They let me go. They laid me off. They didn't give me that promotion. Whatever. He says, the dreams you think you like are those in which the functions you have given have been fulfilled. All right? And the needs which you ascribe to you are met. So I ascribe these needs to me, and the needs are met by this dream. Isn't that wonderful? It's a dream job. You've heard that expression before. So, it does not matter if they be fulfilled or merely wanted. It is the idea that they exist. All right? It's the idea that the needs exist from which the fears arise. The fear arises because I need this. I need this. I'm afraid if I can't get this, what's going to happen? All right. So that occurs in all our dreams. And remember, just look at this calmly. Observe it as if you were Mr. Spock. I know I've said that a couple of times before, but that's the idea. Just observe it without emotion. Oh yeah, that's what I do. Oh yeah, I've done that so many times. Oh, must be because I believe I'm separated. Could you help me with that? That's it. Don't use it as a club to hit yourself in the head. He says, dreams are not wanted more or less. All right? He says that they are desired or not. And believe me, if we're here, we desire the dream. So don't blame yourself. Don't judge yourself. Just say, oh yeah, look at that. I believe I separated from the oneness, so I created this dream. Or as Dr. Wapnick's wife, Gloria, would say, I miscreated this dream. And then we go about having it corrected. Because as he said last week, you don't wake yourself. You need help. Because I put myself to sleep, so I need help to wake me up. Right? And that's what the symbols of Jesus and the Holy Spirit are for. The symbol of the Holy Spirit is the memory of who you really are, the memory that you brought with you into the dream. And we can contact that and just sit in its presence. The memory of the love that surrounds you, the memory of your connection to your Creator. And use the symbol of your friend, Jesus. Your brother, your good buddy. Sit in their presence and ask, help me to see correctly. And we keep working on that until the day comes when you have a great advance, a big aha moment, and perception changes completely. And until then, we go and we keep applying the formula, so to speak. We say, oh yeah, I don't want to be like this anymore. Help me to correct it. Help me to see correctly. Help me to see the figures in this dream correctly. I'm willing. Okay. So dreams are not wanted more or less. They are desired or not. And each one represents some function that you have assigned. Some goal, which an event or a body or a thing should represent and should achieve for you. If it succeeds, you think you like the dream. If it should fail, you think the dream is sad. But whether it succeeds or fails is not its core, but just the flimsy covering. So whether it succeeds or fails is not the point. Because a dream is a dream. Whether it succeeds or fails, the fact is that I am dreaming. And I would like to awaken, please. Can you help me see correctly? Right? Because each dream is a function that I have assigned. All right? Some goal which an event or body or thing should represent and should achieve for you. So whatever it is, so many things. My car. I love my car. It gets me where I want to go. It makes me feel like I'm styling going down the street. Whatever it is. All right? Or as a friend of mine from many decades ago would say, chicks really dig this car. You should have one of these. So that becomes your dream. That becomes the function of that car. What happens when somebody steals the car or gets crushed somehow? Your dream is crushed. All right. He did the same thing with dogs too. He says, you know what you got to do? You got to get yourself a nice big dog, and you go to Central Park on Sundays and walk the dog because chicks love dogs. So that would become the function assigned to the dog. Oh my goodness. My goodness. That was a friend, Bobby. He was very interesting. Very interesting guy. I knew him since I was like in the first grade. But he was always good for, this is what you should do. All right. So these are the dreams, these are the functions that would be assigned to everything that we dream, all right? And it is, you get to the point where you can laugh at it. Come on. Don't judge yourself for anything. Oh, well, I was so stupid thinking that. Why didn't I do this instead of that? You know, why didn't I get a regular job with a pension and insurance and all that, instead of, you know, being as I like to look at it, as a freelance, you know? All right. Each one represents a function that I have assigned, okay? And if it succeeds, you think you like the dream. So just notice that, that's all. Be nice to yourself, all right? Be nice to everyone. Everyone's dreaming, okay? And don't get a couple of chapters back, one chapter back, just don't get sucked into somebody else's dream, all right? Stay aside from the dream and realize they're dreaming, right? And you go to your right mind, and in that, standing in that love, that love comes through you. And it enters their mind. And at some point, they'll pick up on it. But in the meantime, you're not reacting to their dream either. Okay? But meanwhile, that's enough about their dream. What about my dream? So, whether the dream succeeds or fails is not its core, but just its flimsy covering. Doesn't matter whether it succeeds or fails, it's a dream. That's what Jesus is saying. All right. And the dream comes from thinking that I'm separated from God. All right. Somewhere in the Garden of Eden, I think the Bible said a deep sleep came upon Adam. And I think Dr. Wapnick was the one that said, nowhere in the Bible does it say that he woke up. Okay, paragraph 5. How happy would your dreams become if you were not the one who gave the proper role to every figure which the dream contains? No one can fail but your idea of him, and there is no betrayal of this, but of this. All right? So no one can fail but your idea of him, and there is no betrayal but of this. The core of dreams the Holy Spirit gives is never one of fear. The coverings may not appear to change, but what they mean has changed because they cover something else. Perceptions are determined by their purpose, in that they seem to be what they are for. A shadow figure who attacks becomes a brother giving you a chance to help. If this becomes the function of the dream, and dreams of sadness thus are turned to joy. Right? This is where Jesus turns into the happy dream. Right? Where I am not the one who's giving everybody their function. I'm not the one who's doling out, well, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is what you're supposed to do, all right? And if you don't, I'm either sad or angry or whatever. I'll think of some appropriate name to call you. But he says, how happy would your dreams become if you were not the one who gave the proper role to every figure with the dream, which the dream contains. He says, you'd be happy if it was, in other words, the Holy Spirit or Jesus who is giving everyone their role in your dream, okay? It would change everything. He says, because you would become happy because no one can help it, but they're going to fail your idea of him. All right? And there is no kind of betrayal except this. You failed me. You betrayed me. You failed the function. You didn't do it. You said you would take the garbage out. You didn't. Whatever. That just brings up memories of my brother Stephen. Say, Stephen, he was helping me in one of the jobs I had. Stephen, you didn't take out the trash. And he would say, oh, don't worry about it. That was his stock phrase, don't worry about it. But he was, I could have looked at it like he's betrayed me. I hired him to help me. And whatever it is, right? I went into partnership with you so that we could be successful. Right? You turned out to be a thief. You betrayed me. And I mean, it goes on and on. Because I'm assigning the roles in my dream. Right? You're a teacher. Oh, you're a good teacher or a bad teacher. You're supposed to be a pastor. You're supposed to take care of the flock, and look what you did. Everybody. You're a government official. You're a policeman. You're a fireman. Whatever role I've assigned to them. So he says, so your dream would be much happier if you ask the Holy Spirit, how do I see these people? Right? Let the Holy Spirit assign the role that they're given in your dream. Right? How happy would your dreams become if you were not the one who gave the proper role to every figure which the dream contains? All right? Because all they can do is fail. Right? And he says the core of dreams the Holy Spirit gives is never one of fear. The core of the dream that the Holy Spirit helps us with is the oneness. You never left. It's the innocence. No one is guilty. All right? That's at the core of the Holy Spirit's dream. So the contents, he says, the coverings may not appear to change. So the dream doesn't appear to change. All right? But let's see, the coverings may not appear to change, but what they mean has changed. All right? Because they cover something else. All right? So what they mean, the dream, what it means, doesn't mean that you betrayed me, or I betrayed myself even, or whatever. All right? It doesn't mean that anymore. What they mean has changed because they cover something else. What they're covering is your basic innocence, and we're trying to uncover that. All right? So he says, but perception, which is everything, right? The moment I believe I'm separated from the oneness, I start to perceive. Perceptions are determined by their purpose, and that they seem to be what they are for. Right? So if I believe in separation, my perceptions are going to report that to me. They're going to reinforce that idea. But if my purpose is to return to the oneness, my perceptions will be changed. Although the form doesn't change, the figures in the dream don't change. Right? As he says, the coverings may not change. But since I'm willing to get back to the oneness, my perception changes. I see it differently. I see it with corrected perception. Perceptions are determined by their purpose, in that they seem to be what they are for. A shadow figure who attacks, now all of a sudden if my perception is changed, right? A shadow figure, person in my dream who's attacking me somehow, physically, verbally, psychologically, or somewhere in the past, remembering something someone did or said. All right? A shadow figure who attacks becomes a brother, giving you a chance to help, if this becomes the function of the dream. So I'm willing to see correctly. So the function of my dream becomes to help, because I'm willing to become a channel of that love for everyone. It will descend, it will arise, let's say, in everyone's mind. That's helping. All right? And I will not be adding to their dream of fear. If I need to do or say something, I will not be adding to their dream of fear. I will be coming from that foundation of love and understanding. All right. So a shadow figure who attacks becomes a brother who's giving us a chance to help, if this becomes the function of the dream. And dreams of sadness are thus turned into joy. All right? When he says the perceptions are determined by their purpose, as I was reading through this for today's session, I was reminded of what I perceive to be one of the most beautiful sections in the course, and it comes early on, and I think it's chapter 5. I think I marked it off here. No, it's chapter 6, in a section called The Message of the Crucifixion, where he's talking about perception. All right? He said, look, he says the apostles, they were off. They got it wrong. He says, I told them that there would be things they would understand later because they were so filled with guilt and fear. All right. He says, I couldn't, this is one thing, this is what always struck me. I could not have said, betrayest thou the Son of Man with a kiss? All right, which is one of the big lines from the New Testament, all right, that Jesus purportedly said to Judas. All right. He says, I could not have said that unless I believed in betrayal. All right. He says, that wasn't my belief system. All right. That was not the point of my being in the dream. It was not to prove betrayal. He says the whole message of the crucifixion was simply that I did not believe in betrayal. All right. The punishment I was said to have called forth upon Judas was a similar mistake. And this is the one that always struck me. It was so beautiful. He says, Judas was my brother and a son of God, as much a part of the sonship as myself. Was it likely that I would condemn him when I was ready to demonstrate that condemnation is impossible? So the purpose of his being in the dream was to reverse all these things, not to reinforce the idea of betrayal. He said, I don't believe in that. So perceptions are determined by their purpose. His purpose was to bring about the oneness, that he's as much a son of God as I am. We are all sons of God, one son of God. As he said, I and the Father are one. That was the purpose of his dream. I and the Father are one. The rest is, stuff to be reinterpreted. I'm sorry if I went off, but that it brought it up for me, and it was always a powerful little few sentences for me. Right? Judas was my brother. Right? As much a son of God as I was. Right? So that's how it was perceived in his dream, so to speak. Right? This was not someone who was failing him at some function that he had given out. Right? A shadow figure who attacks becomes a brother, giving you a chance to help. If this becomes the function of the dream, and dreams of sadness are thus turned to joy. When the purpose of my dream is changed, right? Dreams of sadness are turned to dreams of joy. Everything, you'll see it more and more. Things reflect the oneness, reflect the love of heaven. Right? And how could you be anything but joyful then? Right? So paragraph 6, we'll get to it. He says, what is your brother for? You do not know, because your function is obscure to you. Do not ascribe a role to him that you imagine would bring happiness to you. And do not try to hurt him when he fails to take the part that you assigned to him in what you dream your life was meant to be. He asks for help in every dream he has. And you have help to give him if you see the function of the dream as he perceives the function, who can utilize all dreams as means to serve the function given him, because he loves the dreamer, not the dream. Each dream becomes an offering of love. For at its center is his love for you, which lights whatever form it takes with love. All right? So, what is your brother for? You don't know, because your function is obscure to you. Right? My function it's obscure. My function is to be a channel of love. To connect with the right mind and allow the innocence to permeate the mind, to rise up in the mind. All right? And he says, so don't ascribe to your brother a role that you imagine would bring happiness to you. All right? Just notice when we're doing that. And like I say, don't blame yourself. And don't try to hurt him when he fails to take the part that you assigned. All right? And don't try to hurt him when he fails to take the part that you assigned to him in what you dream your life was meant to be. All right? Because your brother asks for help in every dream he has. And you have help to give him if you see the function of the dream. If you see the function of the dream as he perceives it, the Holy Spirit, you see the capital H there. So if you see the dream, the function of the dream as the Holy Spirit perceives it, right? As he perceives it. And who's he? He's the one who can utilize all dreams as a means to serve the function given him, which is the awakening, right? The freeing everyone from the dream of separation, right? Because right, he loves the dreamer, not the dream. Each dream becomes an offering of love, for at its center is his love for you, which lights whatever form it takes with love. So whatever form our dream takes, it can be lit with love if we contact the right mind where that memory of love resides. That memory of love, which loves not the dream, but the dreamer. Not this body, but that abstract entity that I am. So remember that your brother asks for help in every dream that he has. And we can help if we ask. Help me to see this brother correctly. Help me to see this other person correctly. Right? They're not fulfilling the dream, the role that I gave them in the dream. They're not doing what would make me feel better. Right? He says, so notice when that's happening and then ask, just ask, help me, I'm willing to see correctly. For the bazillionth time. All right? Do not ascribe a role to him that you imagine would bring happiness to you. All right? One of the key things that I've learned in relationships, no matter what it is, person, place, or thing, is that to ask myself, what is it that I want from this relationship? Right? And if you can get to the point where you don't want anything, you'll see how your perception has changed. Right? The only thing we want is to wake up, to realize the oneness, to realize the love that is all around us. Right? And extend it, become a channel of that. All righty then. Thank you for sticking with it in my tangents. All right. I thank you and I look forward to our next session. Bye now.